Can I do my video? Do you have to be in every video? Are you my little movie star? Well, if all goes according to plan and you're watching this on the day that it uploads, that means it's Sunday, March 31st. I originally planned to upload my favorite fantasy books of last year today, but I really wanted to share with y'all 10 anticipated releases I have for April. And there are 3 releases for April 2nd. The first one is Draw Down the Moon by PC Cast and Kristen Cast, and this is a YA fantasy. And this is going to be a new duology in a dark and magical world filled with incredible danger and irresistible romance. Okay, not a huge fan of the romance, but the fantasy part of this book sounded good to me, so we'll see. Red Nightingale isn't supposed to have any powers. Born of magical parents, but not under a moon sign, she was destined for life as a mundane, right up until she starts glowing on her 18th birthday. In a heartbeat, Ren's life is turned upside down, and she's suddenly leaving her home for the mystical Academia de la Luna, a secret magical school on a hidden island off the Seattle coast. Lee Young has always known about his future at the Academia. He has one goal: pass the trials, impress the Moon Council, and uphold his family's reputation. But he wasn't expecting to be attending alongside the girl he's been secretly in love with for as long as he can remember. As Ren and Lee are thrown into the Academia's grueling trials, they quickly learn there's something different and dangerous about the school this year. Ren will have to navigate a web of secrets, prophecies, and murder. And Lee will have to decide who to protect, his family's legacy or the girl he loves. So, we'll see. I may wait for reviews to come out before I read that, see how heavy the romance is. Hopefully it's more fantasy, less romance. And the second one for April 2nd is Call Forth a Fox by Markel Grabo. Sorry, not sure how to pronounce that. But this is a twist on a classic fairy tale. The Western Wood is where Rose's father built their garden, taught her to forage, and told her tales of the fairies who live there, how to summon them, how to protect herself, and warnings of what they are capable of. Now her father is gone, the garden has withered, and their family is struggling. Her mother and sister want to move into town, but Rose doesn't want to give up the memories of her father and his stories, or the charming village girl who shares Rose's love of the trees. And the forest isn't ready to let her go either. One winter night, on her way home from foraging, Rose encounters a fox being attacked by a bear. She fights the bear to save the fox's life, only to see the bear turn into a boy after her sister shoots him with an arrow. When the boy wakes, he has no memory of who he is. All he knows is Rose's name and that he has to kill the fox. Rose never believed in the fairies from her father's stories, but she can't deny the magic surrounding her and that both the boy and the fox are victims of a fairy curse. She'll have to remember everything her father taught her in order to extract herself from this deadly game and keep her precious fox out of harm's way. This cover is so cute, too. And the last one for April 2nd is a sci-fi called Calypso by Oliver K. Langmead. Rochelle wakes from cryostasis to take up her role on the colony ark Calypso, but she wakes to find the ship deserted and the interior taken over by a forest. As she explores and finds the last remaining members of the crew, she discovers a legacy of war conducted while she slept. The engineers and the botanist have different visions for how to build the world. The engineers would build a new utopia of technology, and the botanist would have the planet bloom, untouched by mankind. Both will destroy the other to ensure their vision of paradise prevails. And Rochelle, the last to wake on the Calypso, holds the balance of power in her hands. A high-stakes sci-fi adventure of shattering moons, a colonial ark turned into Eden, post-human evolutions delivered in a uniquely compelling form. That sounds really good. And I have 4 for April 9th. The first one is Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes, and this is sci-fi horror, one of my favorite genres. Psychologist Dr. Ophelia Bray has dedicated her life to the study and prevention of ERS, a space-based condition most famous for a case that resulted in the brutal murders of 29 people. When she's assigned to a small exploration crew, she's eager to make a difference. But as they begin to establish residency on an abandoned planet, it becomes clear that the crew is hiding something. While Ophelia focuses on her new role, her crewmates are far more interested in investigating the eerie, ancient planet and unraveling the mystery behind the previous colonizers' hasty departure than opening up to her. That is, until their pilot is discovered gruesomely murdered. Is this Ophelia's worst nightmare starting? A wave of violence and mental deterioration from ERS? Or is it something more sinister? Terrified that history will repeat itself, Ophelia and the crew must work together to figure out what's happening. But trust is hard to come by, and the crew isn't the only one keeping secrets. Now, I have not heard great reviews of this so far, so I'm still excited to read it. I'm still going to read it. I've just maybe lowered my expectations a little bit, which is unfortunate because I absolutely love Dead Silence. That was a 5-star and it was a debut. Usually writers get better the more they write, so that's really sad to hear that it hasn't really been hitting like the first one. The second one for April 9th is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, and this is historical fantasy. In a shabby house on a shabby street in the new capital of Madrid, Lucia Cortado uses scraps of magic to get through her days of endless toil as a scullion. But when her scheming mistress discovers a lump of a servant cowering in the kitchen is actually hiding a talent for little miracles, she demands Lucia use those gifts to better the family's social position. What begins as simple amusement for the bored nobility takes a perilous turn when Lucia garners the notice of Antonio Perez, the disgraced secretary to Spain's king. Still reeling from the defeat of his armada, the king is desperate for any advantage in the war against England's heretic queen, and Perez will stop at nothing to regain the king's favor. Determined to seize the one chance to better her fortunes, Lucia plunges into a world of seers and alchemists, holy men and hucksters, where the line between magic, science, and fraud is never certain. But as her notoriety grows, so does the danger that her Jewish blood will doom her to the Inquisition's wrath. She will have to use every bit of her wit and will to survive, even if that means enlisting the help of Gillian Santigel, an embittered immortal familiar, whose own secrets could prove deadly for them both. So this sounds pretty interesting. I really hope that Book of the Month comes out with an edition. That way I can pick it for April, because I already have 1 or 2 add-ons that I have in mind. And the third one for April 9th is Dragonfruit by Makia Lucier. I think that's how you would say it. And this is a romantic fantasy inspired by Pacific Island mythology. So again, not huge on the romance part, but fantasy based on Pacific Island mythology sounds really cool and not something you really see a lot of. In the old tales, it is written that the egg of a sea dragon, Dragonfruit, holds within it the power to undo a person's greatest sorrow. An unwanted marriage, a painful illness, and an unpaid debt gone. But as with all things that promise the moon and the stars, and offer hope when hope is gone, the tale comes with a warning. Every wish demands a price. Hanalei of Tamarin is the cherished daughter of an old island family, but when her father steals a sea dragon egg meant for an alien princess, she is forced into a life of exile. In the years that follow, Hanalei finds solace in studying the majestic sea dragons that roam the Nominomi Sea, until one day an encounter with a female dragon offers her what she desires most, a chance to return home and to right a terrible wrong. Sam is the last remaining prince of Tamarin, but he can never inherit the throne, for Tamarin is a matriarchal society. With his mother ill and his grandmother nearing the end of her reign, Sam is left with 2 to marry, or to find a cure for the sickness that has plagued his mother for 10 long years. When a childhood companion returns from exile, she brings with her something he has not felt in a very long time, hope. But Hanalei and Sam are not the only ones searching for the Dragonfruit, and as they battle enemies both near and far, there is another danger they cannot escape, that of the Dragonfruit itself. That cover is just stunning, absolutely love all the colors. And the last one for April 9th is The Last Phi Hunter by Saloni Goldenberg, and this is a dark fantasy with a little bit of romance and horror, so sounds interesting. And Phi Hunter, that must be some mythical creature. I probably should have looked it up. Probably has something to do with what's on the cover. Cool cover, by the way. Ambitious Phi Hunter and perpetual lone wolf EX finds his road to glory interrupted when a heavily pregnant runaway enlists his help to escape through the ghost-infected forest. X, the youngest member of the Phi Hunters Order, has spent his life slaying the ghosts and demons of Soyerum Kingdom, while he takes pride in his mystical trade, collecting dwindling bounties and peddling butchered spirit organs, lacks the glory he craves. He is determined to hunt down Shar Allah, a demon of nightmares, of madness, who has eluded even X's masters. In a provincial village along the way, Arinya, a charming Muay champion, some difficult words in here, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, saves him from an ass-kicking despite being 9 months pregnant. In return, she asks him to escort her through the dangerous spirit-filled forest, where ghosts salivate over the scent of the unborn. But as more of Arinya's secrets emerge, and the elusive demon nears, X must face dangers from both men and monsters, or lose not only the respect of the Phi Hunters, but the hunters themselves, along with the woman he's trying not to fall in love with. So again, this may be one where I wait on reviews before I pick it up, but it does sound pretty interesting. And I have two for April 23rd. The first is A Letter to the Luminous Deep. I'll be honest, the cover is what really drew me in for this one. And this is by Sylvie Cathrall, one of the two. And this is a romantic historical epistolary fantasy. A beautiful discovery outside the window of her underwater home prompts the elusive E, to just the initial E, to begin a correspondence with renowned scholar Henry Clayle. What is that name? The letters they share are filled with passion, at first for their mutual interests and then inevitably for each other. Together they uncover a mystery from the unknown depths, destined to transform the underwater world they both equally fear and love. But by no mere coincidence, a seaquake destroys E's home, and she and Henry vanish. A year later, E's sister Sophie and Henry's brother Viren are left to solve the mystery of their siblings' disappearances with the letters, sketches, and field notes left behind. As they uncover the wondrous love their siblings shared, Sophie and Viren learn the key to their disappearance and what it can mean for life as they know it. So it says it's a whimsical epistolary fantasy set in a mystical underwater world with mystery and heartwarming romance. So again, another one I'll probably wait for reviews on since I'm not a big romance reader, but I love that cover so much. And the last one I have for April 23rd is Off With Their Heads by Zoe Hannah Makuta, and this is a fantasy inspired by Alice in Wonderland. In a world where saints are monsters and Wonderland is a dark forest where they lurk, it's been 5 years since young witches and lovers Carol Rabbit and Isadora Alisicki were both sentenced to that forest for a crime they didn't commit. And 4 years since they shattered one another's hearts, each willing to sacrifice the other for a chance at freedom. Now Carol is a successful royal saint harvester, living the high life in the glittering capital and pretending not to know the twisted monster experiments that her beloved Red Queen hides deep in the bowels of the palace. But for Isadora? What's up with all these names that I can't pronounce? But for Isa, I guess, the memory of Carol's betrayal has hardened her from a timid girl to ruthless hunter. A hunter who will stop at nothing to exact her on Caro, on the queen, on the throne itself. But there's a secret about the saints the queen's been guarding, and a volatile magic at play, even more dangerous to Issa and Caro than they are to each other. That was a really awkwardly written synopsis. Hopefully the book is written better than the synopsis. I've heard this described as if the Mad Hatter wrote Alice in Wonderland, so that sounds pretty cool to me. And the last anticipated release I have comes out on April 30th, and that is called Sound the Gong by John Hay. Sorry, not sure how to pronounce that. This is actually the second book in a series, so I won't say the synopsis of this because I don't want to spoil anything for the first one because I haven't read that one yet. So I'll have to read the first one first, and that one's called Strike the Sitter, and this is the synopsis for Strike the Sitter, the first one. The year is 414 of the Sin Dynasty, and chaos abounds. A puppet empress is on the throne. The realm has fractured into 3 factions, and 3 warlordesses, hoping to claim the continent for themselves, but Zephyr knows it's no contest. Orphaned at a young age, Zephyr took control of her fate by becoming the best strategist of the land and serving under Sin Ren, a warlordess whose loyalty to the Empress is double-edged. While Ren's honor draws Zephyr to her cause, it also jeopardizes their survival in a war where one must betray or be betrayed. When Zephyr is forced to infiltrate an enemy camp to keep Ren's followers from being slaughtered, she encounters the enigmatic Crow, an opposing strategist who is finally her match. But there are more enemies than one, and not all of them are human. And this series was inspired by 3 Kingdoms, one of the 4 classics of Chinese literature. So those are 10 anticipated releases I have for April. Do any of these sound good to you? Are you going to be reading any of these? Are there any other April releases that you are interested? Go ahead and leave them for us in the comments because, you know, we can always add to that TBR. And if you've made it this far and would like to let me know by leaving an emoji, go ahead and leave anything related to Alice in Wonderland, so a mushroom with teacup, something like that. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.